ladies and gentlemen of the universe, the next voice you hear.
It's Eric Nagel.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to San Diego Comic-Con 2016. Yes, we are out here in San Diego, and Matt is here with me.
What? Was that some sort of radio voice that you were just doing?
No, I'm
that?
excited because Matt actually gets to go on a field trip with us.
I do. Going on a field trip, very much exciting. And San Diego is the perfect place to do it.
Right.
I mean, outside of a handful of things, it's been a great experience.
We've traveled to other cons and other events and stuff, and because Matt has a real job in the real world, he doesn't get the flexibility to travel with us.
It's true.
Like us in the radio or Giddles, who doesn't work that often. So we get to go do these things, and I always feel bad because, Matt is my co-host for the show, and he doesn't get to do a lot of these things, except finally we found something.
Well, I picked the good one.
That
San
you're
Diego,
good
right?
at. Yes.
So I'm not complaining.
So we're in San Diego,
Yes.
and we have a huge show for you today. A lot of stuff to get to, and who knows if 3 hours is going to be enough time to get to it.
It won't be, but that's how we do our show.
Well, one of the surprises, Matt OG is here.
Yes.
We'll kick off another surprise. We have another co-host, our pal, Brian Shea from GameInformer is out here.
Hey, what's
How are
up,
you?
guys?
This is great too, because you haven't been in studio with us.
No, I haven't. Not since your one-off show that you did way back in like 2013.
You know what?
2014.
This isn't working. Go over there, call me, and I'll put you on speakerphone with the mic, and I'll feel more comfortable.
I'll feel much more comfortable then. I thought it was just a face online until I met him the other night.
Phoners are so much harder than doing something in studio. Like it's such a refreshing change of pace to actually be able to feed off of what your guys doing with your bodies and
Right.
know when somebody's going to jump in.
And there's no delay.
No. Anybody else out here with us? No. Okay, good. Let's start the show.
No.
So, San Diego Comic-Con, for those of you who don't know, is the mecca of all Comic-Cons, where a lot of the TV industry, the movie industry, the video game industry like to make, even the toy industry, make big announcements here as a big spectacle of itself.
It's true.
To show everybody what they have coming out in the next year, what they've been working on, and what you didn't know they've been working on, which is what companies love to do. Case in point, that Blair Witch movie that just was announced. Everybody knew some kind of...
It was called The Woods.
Right.
And then at the panel yesterday, they actually revealed what it actually is. It's a Blair Witch sequel.
What?
Yeah, so
I haven't heard about this
So
yet.
I watched the trailer, and you've seen Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2, the original ones?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It feels very much like a reboot, but not really.
So different tone or...
No. Like, it somehow takes place after the original one, sort of. But it's but the guy is standing in the corner at one point, and there's the kid's handprints on the wall. A lot of it feels very much the same. I'm not sure. But the trailer looked interesting.
Is it found footage again, or...?
Yes, I think it is found footage again.
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't look as shitty. That's what I'll say.
I like the first one.
But that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a big surprise. Nobody knew that they were even... Blair Witch was how many years? The mid-90s, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
And nobody knew that they were working on... And maybe they heard rumblings of something, but knew they were working on a full-fledged project, and all of a sudden, boom, it was announced, and the place goes nuts.
Even bigger than that, though, was the Justice League trailer.
Right.
No one knew that was coming. We thought it was way too far off for us to see any footage. And
I thought because Batman vs. Superman was so poorly received that they just said, you know what, we're not going to do it.
No, they can't. No, that's not happening.
Okay.
I don't think they're putting it on the brakes anytime soon on that. Because,
Not yet.
Batman vs. Superman, even though it didn't really make its money back in theaters, it's still a juggernaut for them.
And Suicide Squad, they're hoping is going to be huge, so...
Looks a lot more promising.
It does. I'll agree with that.
I bought a T-shirt. I'm
There
on
you go.
board.
You're
I'm
on
hoping
board.
this works out.
I tried to confiscate at least 3 or 4 Harley Quinns while at the con. It hasn't worked yet, but...
I know. Matt's gotten in a lot of trouble out here. He's had very roaming hands. So anyway, we leave Newark. We fly out. Not the best of flights.
No.
Because it didn't have air conditioning, which I don't know how that is acceptable or even possible in today's era.
I also don't like the fact that I bought into a flight with AC units. I could plug in my phone and Wi-Fi, and I forgot that United's Wi-Fi isn't actually real Wi-Fi. You have to pay whatever stupid amount of money for it is. And my seat had no plug. The plug was missing from my seat.
What?
Someone had ripped it out. It was gone.
And I had the multiple plug thing that you can plug into the outlets, and we thought we were sitting together, and it turns out we were in 2 different aisles.
Right.
Oh, no.
But the weird coincidence that we did have is the guy in the center seat on both of our aisles, while the plane's in the air, I might say, is trying to do Pokemon Go.
Feverishly trying to play Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go. That's the one Giddles turned me on to because I kept calling it Pokemon.
Pokemon Go.
Or I was calling it Pokegoki at one point.
Well, you were calling it Pokemango, I think.
Pokemango.
Pokemongo.
Pokemongo. Yeah, so they're trying to get it, and they're just moving the thing around and seeing if they'd get reception off the airline's Wi-Fi.
Right.
And it wasn't working.
Yeah, and especially since you're going like 700 miles an hour, it's also kind of hard to hit up any Pokestops on the way.
Damn it, he keeps saying it's out of range.
You've just seen a million monsters going flying past you on the screen. So yeah,
damn, we just passed a Pikachu, god damn it.
Turn around.
That was ridiculous. And then when we land in San Diego, the captain makes an announcement asking if everybody, as we're getting ready to leave the plane, if everyone would pull the shades down so they could try to keep the plane cool for the next group of passengers coming in. And they didn't do that for us.
No.
Wow.
So everyone's like, fuck that. And people are purposely pulling them up just because it was so awful to fly out there with barely any air conditioning.
Yeesh.
It was a very difficult time. But then we get to San Diego.
And we saw a Spider-Man made out of Campbell cans, and I
Yep.
remembered we
Everybody
were
did.
going to Comic-Con.
Right. And then, of course, Conan is everywhere. Conan
Everywhere.
O'Brien show. It's on the escalator. It's on the luggage carousel. It's pretty much engulfed the entire Marriott marquee that you can see from the plane.
Right.
You just see giant Conan fungos, like almost Godzilla-like crushing the city. How was your flight before
My flight was fine, actually. It was a little rough coming into San Diego, but I mean, you guys are complaining about the Wi-Fi you had to pay for it and everything. Like, I was willing to pay for Wi-Fi, but when I flew in Sun Country, is one of the two airlines. It's kind of like a hub in Minneapolis.
Right.
So I flew Sun Country, and
I've never even
they don't
heard
have
of that.
Wi-Fi. They don't have Wi-Fi even for sale, and no outlets at all. They did have air conditioning. It's a less than luxurious
Well, that's what you get for being
airline.
in Minneapolis. I mean,
I mean, Delta's the other option, but they're a little pricey.
yeah, Delta would have kind of raked you over the coals.
So we get there, we get to the hotel.
Right.
The hotel's okay. Again, the air conditioning not the greatest. And as we've discovered throughout San Diego, most of the places don't really believe in air
Yeah.
conditioning down here, which is mind-boggling considering how hot it gets down here. Everyone's like, oh, San Diego's weather is perfect. It's always 72 degrees. Not necessarily. It might be 72 degrees, but there's nothing blocking the sun.
Right.
It's direct sunlight just beaming on you at all times.
All
and
times.
angles. Your hotel, I hear, is not that great, Brian.
Yeah, so I stayed kind of off like the beaten path because I needed to go like a less expensive route if I wanted to be able to justify this trip.
Yeah.
So I stayed like a little bit further up north, and first I walk in, I'm like, hey, I'm checking in. It's it's an hour before my scheduled check-in time. They're like, well, let's see if we have any rooms. I think we're all out of like early rooms. He's like, oh, we got one more for you. Let's throw you up there. So it's on the 5th floor, which is the top floor. So I'm like, all right, gotta take the elevator or walk upstairs. That's no big deal. Get up there. It's a corner room.
His hotel had an elevator.
So I get up to the top.
Ours has a garbage can outside our door.
So I get up there. It's a corner room. I'm like, all right, score. I got a corner room. No worries. First thing I notice is that every like 5 or 10 minutes, my hotel is just getting buzzed by low-flying planes because it's like right by like the path to the airport.
Oh.
Right.
So that's less than ideal as well.
Right.
I walk in and I'm like, where's the bathroom? And I walk around and look, and there's a door. It looks like almost like a conjoining room. So I'm like, oh, it must be in here. I open it up because it's like one of those heavy-duty doors. And I'm like, this is a weird bathroom. It's huge, but it's just an open space. Like there's a toilet and then like just an open space that leads into like an area where there's a faucet and a shower curtain just kind of like hanging. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's a kind of like a weird approach to a bathroom. And then I realized it's a handicap room, like a handicap accessible room.
No.
So, I mean, that's no big deal,
Yeah.
except the shower is like one of those detachable shower heads
Right.
to like accommodate people who have needs like that. And that, again, that's not a big deal, but it's also up to my shoulders is where it sits. So, like,
Right.
if I want to get my head underneath, I have to like crane my neck underneath, or I have to crouch down.
You gotta get on your knees.
And I was finally like, you know what, I'm going to get a shower and go pick up my badge because it was the day before like the con actually starts. And I go to get a shower and I'm like, well, no hot water. So I just took like a freezing cold shower.
Oh.
Then like I had the guy come up and fix it. And there was like for some reason there was a plastic bag covering my smoke detector, which is, that's never a sign that like good things were happening in the
You know,
room.
it's a federal finable offense to tamper with the smoke detector.
is.
I let them know. I was like, hey, I'm removing this plastic bag. And I guess they took that as to mean like I need a maintenance guy to come up and remove the plastic bag. I just wanted to let them know it wasn't me like putting that plastic bag over it and then I get fined.
Right.
I was like, hey, when I got in here, there was a plastic bag. I took it off. And so I'm getting out of the shower, and I hear a banging on the door, maintenance. And I'm like, just a second. Like, so I'm like putting clothes on.
Yeah.
Right.
And he keeps banging, maintenance. I have a do not disturb sign out on my thing, because I don't like having like the maids coming in and out every single day.
Same with us.
And so yeah, I'm like, I'm in here, I'm coming, don't. And he's like radioing down, can you call the person in this room and have them like, you know, like find out where. I'm like, I'm in the room, just give me a second, I'm putting on clothes. And I open the door, he's like, oh, you're in there. I'm like, I was yelling, like, how did you not hear me? So, and he's like, oh, I'm here to fix your smoke detector. I'm like, I took care of it. He's like, oh, okay, never mind. So that whole ordeal. So anyway, I did some work on my computer, and I plugged it in overnight, thinking like it'll be fully charged. I came back, or I woke up the next morning to do some more work before the show floor opened, and the laptop's completely dead. And I realized that only one outlet in my entire room works, aside from the one that like the Wi-Fi router and the TV is plugged into.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to have to plug into the Wi-Fi, or the place where I plug my phone. I have to alternate, like, having, like, my phone charging, my iPad charging, my DS charging, and my laptop all on this one outlet.
Right.
So I called them down, or I went down and I was like, I got one outlet that works. All the other ones are just useless. And they're like, oh, we'll send somebody up to fix that. And so I go to the show floor. I come back expecting like the outlet to be fixed. What they did was they just covered it up. Like it's
that was
not
the fix.
The fix was like, we're going to just take off like the outlet cover and just replace it with like one of those like solid covers. And it's like, I don't understand how it was an acceptable fix. And I guess when the maids come into your hotel room, they leave the TV on like CNN, so like you're not walking into a dark, quiet room for some reason. I guess they did that for an unoccupied room next to me last night, because it was just all hours of the night I'm just hearing CNN through the wall.
Oh, no.
So it's been a less than stellar experience at this hotel.
Wow, I feel bad complaining about
Why don't you give them a plug?
I don't want to blow up I don't want to blow up anything with that. I'll probably do it on social media, but
That's awful.
All right,
My
so-
plane ride sounds like heaven now.
So Brian Shea's at the downtown north, right? Is that where you're at? Moving on. Now, to get to and from the hotel areas to the convention center, they have their light rail service.
Right.
Their mass transit, I believe it's called Compass.
Yes.
And it's the equivalent of, you ever watch those Japanese subway videos that everyone laughs at, where there's a guy with a stick poking people to push them in there?
Yeah.
That's what this is. So
There's been more than one time where I've been on the bottom step leaning up against the sticker that says, do not lean up against this door.
Yeah, Brian's
Always.
smushed against the door, so when the train's coming into the station, like, let's see which car has some availability. You just see people pressed against the glass.
It's an overcrowded aquarium of people.
Right. And for the longest time, nobody was checking. We went and, because, you know, like in New York, we go and you buy your Metro card and you get an amount on it so you can use it. And they had a 4-day pass for the card. And first day goes by. Second day goes by. We're like, nobody's scanning these cards. We're like, oh, why did we waste our money on these things? And then at one point, Matt went back to the room for something. He goes, they scanned my card. Thank God I bought it. And then,
We got it yesterday, too.
But it's cops doing it.
Yeah, it's the
transit
transit
cops.
authority that does it.
It's not just like, you know,
so it's not they're just going to ask you to leave or ask you to pay the fare. Like, you might actually have like a fine or something.
It's not like you'd slide through a turnstile or slide through the door into the light rail or whatever like that, or like any kind of conductor checking the thing.
Yeah.
There are transit cops that are coming in there, and they're the ones that have these little laser things that they're shooting your card.
I think it says if you're caught without a card, there's a fine. It's like $250 or whatever the hell it is. Yeah.
Well,
but again, I've ridden the light rail 20 times in the last 4 days. I've only been checked twice.
And I've been checked once.
So I'm guessing that if
San
you
Diego
see
could
them
be
coming,
losing a lot of revenue.
Yeah, I'm guessing if you see them coming, you hop off or you take your chances, but clearly not very efficient.
But at the same time, how much money does it cost to have those people patrolling?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not my business.
We saw them almost arrest somebody yesterday.
Yeah,
Some guy crossed in front of the train, literally right in front of the train. Like he was a second away from being a news story. And they went, like 4 or 5 cops went over to him, and they escorted him away from the tracks, and they took him to God knows where. So,
And then they just swarmed in on the guy. Talking to him, checking his ID or whatever, and we talked to another. We were on the other end, and we asked one of the the crossing guards there. I'm like, so what happens? And they're looking at us like, why? And I said, no, they swarmed around the guy to talk to him. There was 3 of them that ran right over, talked to the guy, and then all of a sudden we see the guy turn around and they're pushing him off the platform with them, like rather urgently to get him through the crowd.
They were persuading him to go through the crowd.
Yeah, right, and we heard that they do a big ticket for that too.
I saw a guy on the train yesterday wearing a shirt that said Blue Lives Matter, and it was crossed out, and then it said Don't Matter written underneath, and then he was also wearing an ankle bracelet. So, you know.
Nobody was sitting next to him or making eye contact. Well, I was on the light rail yesterday going back to the hotel, and it was rather packed because it's several stops from the convention to where our hotel is. And when I got on, there was a person, they have these one-person seats near the door, right? Some doors have a handicap ramp that shoots out. Now, they have double handicap seating on one side and then a single seat on the other side, which is not a handicap seat, by the way. There's no sticker there. Mm-hmm. So there was a guy on the first stop, was sitting there and got off at the next stop. And now there was this lady with a small baby and 2 young kids with her. Not doing the con, just I guess maybe just lives here in San Diego.
People do live in this town. That
Right.
aren't
I
going to
forget
the
that
con.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So everybody was, polite and let the lady take the seat with the baby and the 2 kids, rightfully so,
Good.
right? Next stop, door opens up, and you just see this long metallic pole coming through, and it spears a kid in the back of the head, right? And it's I don't know if he's homeless, but he was definitely a handicapped gentleman pushing a walker, but also had those the metal crutches with the cups that go around your forearms.
Sure.
Right? So those are in the basket of the walker thing, and he's just rolling it in like he's Sir Lancelot, right? And this thing just beams a kid in the back of the head.
Ouch.
And people are crowded in there, and he goes, either way, I'm coming in. And we're like, okay. So people are trying to move, and he's being kind of a dick about it. Gets in there, and then he sees the lady sitting there, and he looks at her, and he goes, you handicapped? And she's like, no. He goes, well, you best be getting up then. Like, he was really adamant about it. So the lady with the kids got up, and everyone's like, what the fuck? But you can't really yell at the handicapped guy, and you can't really yell at the lady with the kid. Not that you would, but so he gets up, and then he's taking forever to sit down, right? 2 stops go by, now it's the stop where I'm getting off, and a lot of other people are getting off. And he has the crutches in a way where it's putting pretty much a beam in front of the door that you can't get out.
Uh-oh.
So nobody's moving, and I got to get off, so I just turn the crutches this way. He grabs his thing and he goes, don't touch my stuff. I said, move your fucking shit. And then the Japanese, this was funny, the Japanese redneck guy, who were 2 guys were playing Pokemon and talking about, I think, MC Chris.
Oh, Jesus.
That Fet Vet song. And then they're sitting there and go, dude, what the fuck's your problem? Like, getting this guy, and he's like, none of you touch my stuff. And everyone's now just starting to had enough of him.
No.
They're moving the walker with the wheels. They're smacking his crutches away.
No.
Because he's just being people will be tolerant to anybody.
But there's
But
no
if
need
you
to be
push,
nasty.
if you push their buttons, then they're gonna go. I don't care how crippled you are.
Yeah.
If you're carrying an infant, if you're 9 months pregnant, get the fuck out of our way.
You have a
We try
license to a
being
good
nice.
parking spot, the big bathroom stall, but you don't have a license to be an asshole.
Right. So everyone pushed the handicap stuff into the handicap guy and got off the train.
This just sounds like a terrible, terrible situation.
But the homeless people here are so nice.
I had a homeless guy ask me for money, and I was walking to 7-Eleven, and I was like, look, I'm really sorry. I don't have any change. All I had was a 20 in my pocket at the time. I wasn't going to give him a 20, no offense. And he's like, it's all right, man. Thanks. Have a great day. That's like, if I was in New York, that guy would have, followed me, to smack talked me.
Yeah, would have yelled,
thrown something
probably
at me.
peed at you.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I've had, there was a guy, I came out of 7-Eleven, and he's like, and he didn't even ask for change. He's like, do you have coins?
Yeah.
Which was weirdly specific. And I said, sorry, man, I really don't. And he goes, it's okay. And then just, walked away. No argument, no problem. Let's surmise there. Homeless people in San Diego, very nice, very pleasant. Handicapped people are miserable.
I gotta say though, I mean, I clearly hope that no one that's listening to this or none of my family or friends ever ends up being homeless. But if you have to be homeless,
San Diego's one of the places.
Not a bad spot. Not a lot of New York winter nights.
No.
You know what I mean? You're sleeping outside under the moon.
And they're not in the way. They're not bothered. They're like, 'cause there's thousands of people around the convention center right now. They're not standing in the lines where everybody is and trying to get handouts and bothering people and obstructing paths and all that. They're just waiting. And then when foot traffic stops because the highway has to resume with the red lights, or if there's light rails or the train's coming like that, then they'll walk over and they'll have a sign or something like, hey, anybody have it? No, okay, cool. They're very polite.
Advice for homeless people, though, in San Diego. Learn how to play an instrument. Learn how to play, the ukulele. Learn the theme to Star Wars. Because I bet if you do that during Comic-Con, you busk a little, you can make a pretty penny this week.
Put on a nice performance.
That's what I'm screaming.
Right. So there you go. There you go. The restaurants in the area, especially the ones when you're restricted to the convention area, the downtown area. I get it. A lot of it's going to be catering to tourists.
Right.
But if you go several blocks in any direction, you pass the tourist zone and you go into a lot of the restaurants that are normally the downtown club scene and nightlife for San Diego. And they're guilty of doing this as well. Limiting the menus and limiting the bar. Yeah,
I've been underwhelmed with almost all of my meals. Although last night's meal was really good. It was just still a truncated menu.
Yeah, so you go to sit down here's a great Italian place or a great Mexican place. Well, San Diego, we want to get good Mexican food, right? So you go to a place, they hand out a one sheet, and it's like, here's the options that we have, and there's maybe 6 things there, and you go, this is the full menu? Oh yeah, for the convention it is. It's like we purposely walked 8 or 9 blocks away from the convention just to find a regular restaurant, and even they're still limiting their menu just because
I get it. The crowds are so massive, they're trying to limit what they have to make, right? They're trying to keep everything moving.
Right.
But it's a little disheartening. So you really have to take an Uber or take the light rail someplace to get good eats.
Sure. I just, right before we came to record this, I went and got some pizza at this place that I found a couple days ago. What was that?
How dare you? You didn't bring any for us.
And it took me 45 minutes to get my pizza, and even that was with no custom orders or anything like that. Waited in line for 20 minutes and then ordered 2 slices, and it took 20 minutes on top of that.
Yeah, so the one thing I haven't been disappointed in at least is the beer.
Yeah, you found some interesting choices down here that you've enjoyed, but the bar at those same restaurants, they limit their bar. We went to Ballast Point, and I'm thinking Ballast Point it's their restaurant, they're gonna have most of their product available. And I know they do great sculpins like the grapefruit or blueberry or something like that, so I'm looking forward to that. Chad from Big O and Dukes told us there's a key lime sculpin that they do that he's rather fond of. And we're like, okay, cool, let's check it out. But we get there, 2 beers and then 2 bottled beers, and then 1 or 2 other little choices. So maybe 6 choices that you had, and that was it.
And they had the truncated menu as well at that place for food, which I actually am not super disappointed by that, because they usually keep some of the essentials on the menu.
The burger I had there was banging.
The burger you had looked amazing. We had chicken fingers because we're adults, and they were pretty good. Those chicken fingers were a highlight of my dining experience in San Diego, which is weird to say.
Up. You had the honey mustard and the ranch. I had the barbecue and the ranch.
The place we ate the first day, I had an awesome peanut butter stout. So that my drink was
that was
banging.
Our first day, but we were also in dead heat, too.
Yeah, that was fun. But the sandwich I got was really meh. Last night, however, the tacos we had at that Mexican joint and that cream ale I had, both of those were pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I wish I could remember the name of that place. Don something or other.
There's a pretty good taco joint right next to my hotel.
Don Cheeto?
Don Cheeto.
Yeah, Don Cheeto. It was really good.
Yeah, I got a big old California-style burrito, which has the French fries and the avocado in it.
Yeah, I got tacos 3 ways last night. I was
Ray Taco.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I was thinking, those tacos I had last night were really similar to the tacos we had at IMDb. I wonder if Don Cheeto catered that party.
That party? I don't know, but we'll get into the IMDb yacht party a little bit later in the program there. Oh, Jack in the Box.
Right next door.
Conveniently next door to our hotel. So not only is it open 24 hours, you smell it 24 hours. So if you walk out, if you have the air conditioning on high, all of a sudden you're like, oh, it smells like hamburgers. I really kind of want to go get one. And
it sounds like a really good problem to have.
It is and it isn't, because I've tried various selections of their menu. I don't recommend the breakfast, but their chicken is really good. Their chicken sandwich is good. Anything on sourdough is amazing.
I had their chicken salad because I was trying to be somewhat responsible, and it was actually pretty good for a salad from a fast food joint.
Being responsible has gone out the window for me this week.
Yeah, I know. It's
let's see, pizza. There was the Sonic party that I went to last night, and Sonic, in the cartoons and the comic books, he was always eating chili dogs. So they had
Chili dogs?
chili cheese dogs, and then
Oh.
they had sliders, and then they had
sounds amazing.
onion rings, because I guess Sonic collects rings, so they had
Right.
onion rings. And then they had amazing cookie tray.
Oh.
And so I just walked in, and I feel like within the first 5 minutes, I had like 1,000 calories down my throat, and I was like, "What am I doing?"
Well, I've been sustaining mostly on Pop-Tarts and Cliff Bars, so it's the grilled chicken salad isn't crossing anything else off
I
the
will
list.
say this, thanks to the fine people at Gatorade and Cliff Bars who have really made our breakfast and lunches very convenient and on the go.
We forgot to say that. We hit up Walmart the first day we got here, too,
Right,
to
we
stock
did.
the room.
So we got
Checking out the local flavor.
Yeah,
we went.
man.
We took an Uber over to Walmart and we got bottled water, and because we knew anywhere near the convention it's going to be super expensive.
Of course.
So we went down to an area apparently Whitey's not supposed to go down to called National City, and we took the Uber down there. Went to Walmart, picked up some stuff on the cheap, came back, and while we were thinking of what we were going to get, we were like, well, we should really, because our room doesn't have a fridge. Does yours?
Yeah, it does actually.
Okay.
which
Yeah, we have no
I'm
fridge.
super happy about. I think
All
that's
right.
one thing that, like, I have a fridge, I have a microwave, I have a brand new air conditioning unit. These are the positives, so it just doesn't
Right.
turn into like a
He
full
just
on
doesn't
bitch
have
fest.
power or
Yeah.
hot water.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you either have basic utilities or the luxuries. So we got the utilities, he has the luxuries.
And our utilities are middle of the road at best, by the way, but
So we're like, we got to get some kind of cool, buy some
Yeah.
cheap styrofoam cooler. We'll fill it up with ice from the ice machine and just put all our stuff in there. Okay, great. So we go to the sporting goods department. They don't have it. And I'm like, you know what? Walmart sells those insulated bags so that you keep stuff cold or hot depending what you buy in their supermarket section. They didn't have any of those either.
Oh,
They were all
no.
out. So we're running out of ideas. And Matt goes, you know what? I bet if we just double bag the Walmart bags, we'll fill them up with ice at the ice machine at the hotel, and that'll hold. And we'll put them in the bathtub, put all our stuff in there. It looks like we never unpacked our groceries, but just dumped a ton of ice onto every bag.
But I've had that work for me in the past. The problem is when it's worked for me, I've been able to use the air conditioning in the hotel room to get
keep
it
it
down
from
to a nice
melting.
like 67. Our hotel room is perpetually, it's not hot, but it's like...
It's never below 70.
Yeah, it's never below 70. It's like mid-70s, so the ice lasts, an hour or two at most.
So you did it in the bathtub, though, right? It wasn't like
Yeah, so that
okay.
it didn't
So it
leak
wasn't
or
just all
anything.
over the floor.
No. I was smart enough to put it in the bathtub at least, so that that's Scarlet Witches. Sorry. So
We are at San Diego Comic-Con.
Cosplay is distracting.
I was trying to prepare myself for the MacGyver interview and come up with clever ways to keep our water cold. It failed miserably.
So you're not going to be challenging MacGyver
No,
for
I'm
his
not
role
challenging
anytime soon.
MacGyver.
No, we're not challenging MacGyver at all because we got cut from the CBS
We got
press
bumped
line,
from that line,
which we'll
so-
talk
Oh,
about a
no.
little bit later in the program. I think that's it for San Diego right now. There's other things to visit as the show goes on.
Sure.
Now, if you notice, we didn't introduce any of the guests, but that's usually our format because I usually forget to introduce
Right.
the guests. But this way, we're doing it on purpose because it's going to be a surprise. Or if you followed us on social media, you pretty much know who's coming up on the rundown here. So we're just going to go one at a time and hope you enjoy everything. We're going to start with our first guest, probably the guest I was the most excited that we got a confirmation for and got a chance to talk to, Marc Summers
Oh man.
of Double Dare fame.
that was amazing.
How great was he?
He was so nice and casual and comfortable. It was hard to just not just want to talk to him about like the weather. It would have been a great conversation with Marc Summers. It was just that kind of dude.
And I think
That's awesome.
I think he was opening up more when he started to realize that we're not asking the same questions that he's
Right.
heard all the time about Double Dare. We're showing real, not even fandom for it, but real appreciation because
Well-
we grew up with watching that show and everything they did. And plus, we started shit-talking Funhouse,
Yeah.
which I think really opened the door to, okay, we're going to have a good time here.
Well, Eric's also got a mind like a steel trap, so he knows like Mark's entire career from like his first job, as a busboy at the local restaurant all through UnWrapped. So that certainly worked in our favor.
Yeah, he
as
started
well.
out in radio. He was a radio
Yeah.
guy, and I'm not going to get into it because he
Yeah,
talks
he
about his
gets
whole
into it.
stuff in there. But there was a job that he had that I was not aware of, and I don't think most people are aware of, and he told us all about
Yep.
that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go head over to the Nickelodeon suite, one of many visits. It's a big orange room with white letters, an orange couch, and the lighting is amazing. You walk in and you think you're in real life Nickelodeon.
Oh my God.
It was awesome. So let's go over there and join ourselves as we talk to the legendary Marc Summers. Here at San Diego Comic-Con, and this is definitely a treat. It's Erik and Matt. We're here at Nickelodeon, Matt.
I know, it's a dream come true.
And we're talking to Mr. Marc Summers.
Aren't you nice? Thank you very much.
You'll hear it all the time that people grew up watching you.
Yep.
But we work in radio. You used to work in radio, right?
Started at WBMP FM in Elwood, Indiana when I was about 15 years old. Did weekends from 6 to 11. Playing 101 strings, Mantovani, and Perry Como records.
That is not where most kids start out.
No. And I was ripping and reading, UPI copy. And I was 15, so I couldn't drive. So the chief engineer used to drive me, and then he lost his job. So when I left, this guy, his name is Dave Letterman, took my place. So he took over after I left there.
That was true?
Yeah, true story, absolutely. And it was a small sort of shall we say, not so friendly town at the time. I haven't been there in 100 years.
Oh, it's still not.
Well, I haven't been there, but people of my persuasion, my faith, weren't allowed to be on the radio apparently up there. So I had to change. My real last name is Berkowitz, believe it or not, and I was not allowed to be Mark Berkowitz. So I was Mark Vaughn. Yes, where I got that name, I have no idea. But it was, hi everybody, 58 degrees on the outside at 7:15, listening to Mark Vaughn.
You could do smooth listening jazz, light favorites.
There you go.
The Quiet Storm, when you know.
Quiet Storm. Yeah, unbelievable.
But you did some time. Were you on in
like
Philly?
I was in prison. I did time. Yeah, that's right.
Weren't you on in Philly?
I still live in Philly because I produce a lot of my Food Network stuff out of there,
which we're also fans of.
Oh,
yeah.
thanks. Yeah, I'm on a show called Preston and Steve up there all the time as a regular, and those guys are great.
We know them.
I haven't done my own show up there.
Doing the radio and then transferring into television, that's still today an issue for a lot of radio people trying to cross that bridge. How did you make that happen?
Well, nobody knew who the hell I was on radio anyway, so it was an easy transition. It was weird. I came out to Los Angeles in 1973, and at the time, everybody was coming out trying to take Johnny's place. Mm-hmm. And so I started at the comedy. I was a professional magician working at a place called the Magic Castle from 73 to 76. And then I became a regular at the Comedy Store in 76. I started with Jay and Dave and Robin and Gary Shandling, and we all started together. And, Letterman came out and hit a home run, and he was famous instantaneously. And it either happened in the first 6 months or it took 10 years. And I was one of those guys. It took me 13 years. I got there in 73, and Double Dare didn't happen until 86.
Well, you're doing magic out in L.A. There wasn't many people doing it at the comedy level like Harry Anderson. Did you work with him?
Yeah, Harry and I used to work all the time together at the Magic Castle. And we were not liked because we were doing comedy magic, and the people there were like really serious.
You can't mix the two.
Oh, God forbid back then,
If you threw in impressions, they're throwing stuff at you.
That's right. But Harry was the first one to really break through and became, quite good. And then he got Night Court and one thing after another. I actually did the warm-up on the pilot of Night Court. Boy, we're going back and doing trivia here. But, and then the transition into... Well, actually, I was doing warm-ups before I, got known on Nick. I was working on Star Search and Webster and What's Happening Now and Alice. And, oh, man, I did that for years. How long
were you on Webster?
I did Webster for the entire run, basically.
Okay, so you were there when the apartment burnt down and you moved into the house.
There
right?
you go. Yes.
Did you ever go through the secret passage?
Too much.
Yes. Did you ever go through the secret passages, like when they open the clock and it can go upstairs?
No, I didn't. It was not the friendliest set in the world. Shall we say that Mr. Karras, who should rest in peace, and had a problem with Emmanuel Lewis being the star of the show. Initially, it was all about them, and then he became...
Because it was supposed to be him, a retired... he was a sportscaster on there, but he was a football player in real life.
Right.
And it was supposed to center around his life and dealing with his family and an adoptive son. And then, like Family Matters, it switched to, well, now Webster's really the star of this show.
Well, and it was supposed to... I forgot the original title, but it wasn't Webster, and it became Webster. That was the Gary Coleman period where they were looking for, short,
cute, adorable kids,
little kids, who had squeaky little voices.
Joey Lawrence on Gimme a Break.
Yes. Funniest thing was, so I do Webster, and then time passes, and I didn't talk to Manny for like 10 years, and I'm doing a red eye from Atlanta to L.A. one day, and there's this guy at a computer smoking a cigar, and I looked down, and it was Emmanuel. It's like, what the hell is that all about?
Did you say hi?
Of course, we talked the whole way back, But it was just funny. And, that used to be the time where, like, Michael Jackson would come on the set and carry Manny around. I mean, it was just, I could tell you stories.
That's a story other passengers would tell people and nobody would believe.
Nobody buy it.
I'm watching Marc Summers and Webster talking to each other on the plane.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, that is too far-fetched.
What threw me was, Manny didn't grow that much, but, here was a guy smoking a cigar that was bigger than him. It just was something peculiar about that whole situation.
So, you said you're an unknown in radio, but you get the TV thing.
Yep.
Was it an audition? Was Double Dare were you part of the whole creative process to make the show happen,
No.
not just the host?
Here's what happened. It was created in New York. Mike Klinghoffer, Jeffrey Darby, Dee LeDuc, and Bob Mittenthal created the show. In their mind, now here's a story I've heard for years, and to this day, I've met almost all my heroes, but the one person I haven't met is Dana Carvey. The rumor has been for years that they offered this show to Dana Carvey first, and he got Saturday Night Live the same week, and he took that. Oh, darn. And so they had tried 1,000 people. One of the original people they wanted was Soupy Sales, and they thought, well, he's too old. And after 1,000 auditions in New York, they came to L.A., and I was the first person to audition in Los Angeles. And the way it happened was I kind of had one foot out the door. I was 33. I'd been kicking around for a while. Things weren't happening. And I had opened, believe it or not, a smoked salmon business. And we were distributing about 80,000 pounds of smoked salmon a month to the Price Club, which is now Costco. And that business was taken off. And I had a friend who was a ventriloquist, Dave Garrison, just passed away, from Indianapolis, who got the first call to go and audition for Double Dare. And he called me up and said, I don't know, there's this new network. It's called Nickelodeon. I've never heard of it. They're looking for a host. I'm thinking of moving behind the camera. Why don't you go instead of me? So I went instead of Dave Garrison, and shall we say the rest is history. I went back 3 times. I actually did one audition, got a call back, did another audition. Then they said, we're going to start shooting in Philadelphia in September. I didn't hear from them as the end of August. And back then, I always used to get the name and the numbers of the casting director and of the exec producer. And the guy's name was Mike Klinghoffer, and I called him, and I said, hey, what's going on? You guys start shooting in a few weeks. He goes, we got it narrowed to you and another guy, but we can't figure out which one to use. And I said, what's the problem? They said, when we auditioned, we had adults playing the part of kids. We've never seen you with kids. And I said, I'm great with kids. I'm trying to sell myself. And he goes, I don't know. And I said, well, who's this other host that you're thinking about? He said, well, we can't tell you. And I said, well, why don't you fly us both to New York, put us in a studio with kids, play the game, and let the best man win? He said, I'll call you back. Half hour later, he said, what are you doing over Labor Day? I said, coming to New York and doing Double Dare? He said, yeah. So they flew me, and to this day, I don't know who the other guy was. We both went in and did the audition. And 2 days later, they called me and told me I got the job. And I said, okay, you auditioned 1,000 in New York, 1,000 in L.A. What was it that gave me the job? And they said, you guys were about the same, but at the end of his audition, he looked at the camera and said, is that it, or do you guys want me to do something else? And I looked at the camera and I said, we'll be back with more Double Dare right after this. And they thought because I threw the commercial, it was more professional, and it turned my life around.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
It's a chance meeting, then getting your foot in the door, and just one little thing can
Change
pivot
your
your
life.
entire career.
That was 30 years ago.
I'm just fascinated that the fork in the road was smoked salmon or Nickelodeon Double
Yeah, but
Dare.
you, what do you want from me?
Let's talk about the smoked salmon.
Okay.
Since it took off
Yes.
with Price Club, and then Price Club became Costco.
Yeah, and then we were doing Trader Joe's.
Did you still have an investment in that business, or did you have to just sell it all off when you started doing TV?
I divested my portion of Smoked Salmon International and gave it back to my partner, Mr. Milner, and became a full-time TV host.
Do they still charge you for the salmon if you go to Costco?
He's actually not in the salmon business anymore. He's doing South African wines and things like that. But
Well, all
we're
right.
still friends.
Does he still send you a case every now and then?
Every now and then he should, don't you think? I mean, come on.
I mean, I was gracious enough to give it up to you for a TV career. You could send me a bottle of wine now and then.
Good career for both of us.
So Double Dare comes out.
Yep.
And, growing up in the 80s, it's one of the first programs I remember on Nickelodeon that wasn't purchased from Canada, because a lot of the Canadian programming...
I didn't say a lot.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Nickelodeon was the Pinwheel network, and they had the whole Pinwheel, which was, I guess, Canada's
the worst
answer
puppet
to...
show in the history of
Yeah,
television.
it was Canada's answer to Sesame Street.
Yeah, but not quite. And the way I found Pinwheel was my son was born, and he would never sleep. And so I would be up at the 1 o'clock, the 2:30, the 3:45 feeding, and I would turn on TV and I would hear, Pinwheel, Pinwheel spinning around.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then there was a show called Live Wire, which was Fred Newman, who thought he was Phil Donahue, I guess, and did Donahue for Kids at the time. And I went to that. They shot it at the Ed Sullivan studio before Letterman was in there. I mean, there were rats. I mean, it was insane.
It was very dank.
It was dank and dark and ugly. And and I never sort of heard about Nick again until I did the audition.
So Nickelodeon develops Double Dare, definitely helped it push it to the forefront, so much so that it started filming in Philadelphia and then eventually helped move everything to Universal Studios in Orlando.
We did a bunch of seasons in Philly. We moved, when we became Super Sloppy Double Dare, we moved up to New York. Then we moved back to Philadelphia, and then we moved down to Orlando in 1990.
Yeah, there's so many different versions of it. Super Sloppy,
Super
the
Sloppy,
Family Edition.
Family Double Dare, I
think
have to add it myself here, but
the main three I think everybody remembers is yourself, Robin, and Harvey.
There you go.
And there was, I believe, wasn't there an episode where Robin was hosting?
No.
Like you switched roles or something?
No, I actually would try and put her in that position, but Robin was always sort of fearful and had trouble walking and chewing gum at the time doing that. We're still dear friends. All of us are, me and Harvey and Robin and all of us. No, one time we did a celebrity version where Jim J. Bullock hosted the show, and Harvey and I played and ran the obstacle course. And then some of my favorite episodes is we did Super Slopomania 1 and Super Slopomania 2 with the WWE. We had Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan on. That was fantastic.
Good everyone, I'm Marc Summers, and welcome to the messiest wrestling event in history. It's Super Slopomania, and I'm extremely excited to be able to introduce this gentleman to my right, a name that needs no introduction in the world of wrestling, play-by-play man for the World Wrestling Federation, Gorilla Monsoon. How you doing? Nice to see you here. Glad you could be here. Now, I'd like to know what the toughest part about broadcasting on the WWF is.
Toughest part about for me is having to deal with that weasel Bobby the Brain Heenan. That's the toughest part for me.
I can understand that. I think that. Oh, look at this. He's here, ladies and gentlemen. The weasel is here. Oh, look at this. What a klutz.
From the parking lot? What do you mean? Down here with everybody else. Because I'm the host. I make a grand entrance.
Wait a minute. I'm the host. You guys are
the host.
You guys
I'm
are
the host.
We're going to find out who's the host after this as Gorilla challenges Bobby the Brain to a cage match.
You got it.
We had Hacksaw Jim Duggan on.
Did you have Bobby trying to go through the big swimming pool of balls trying to swim across?
He picked me up, and him and Gorilla dropped me in a vat of chocolate that, like, to this day, it's like I'm still cleaning it out of my ears.
Let me ask you about the stage,
Yes.
because it was very pristine and very shiny when the show starts, and it looks great on television. But the floor surface looks so slick. Like when if anybody watched Letterman, when he comes out, his floor for where he did the monologue and where the bands are, so shiny. You see the lights reflecting off of it. And then you're dealing with all kinds of gack and liquids and everything like that. And you guys are wearing just basic flat sneakers.
There you go. This is what we were wearing.
How many times are you falling down that they have to cut out of the episode?
Well, I learned how to take baby steps so I could get along during the obstacle course. We only had one problem. One day, I have so many stories. We could write a book. They used to have to fill out a form on before they came on. Have you ever had any injuries? Have you ever had any broken bones? All this other kind of stuff. So one kid lied and said, I never had any broken bones. Well, he basically had this thing called glass bones disease. So he's running from obstacle 1 to obstacle number 2, and he falls on that slick surface, and the bone goes right through his arm. Okay, I mean, and I left
in front
the
of
studio.
A studio audience.
In front of the audience,
Oh,
and I
no.
left. Okay, Robin actually went. I was throwing up backstage or something because I couldn't deal with that. That's the only time. We had one other thing. We had an obstacle called the sewer chute, and this kid went up, and he flipped over, and I swore the guy broke his neck. Okay, I mean, it was one of those things, and you hear me going, "Are you all right? Are you right? Should we stop the course? You want to keep going?" And he got to obstacle number 6, and I'm still going, "Are you okay? You okay? Okay?" And we went back and looked at it in slow motion, and like his head went this way, but it was frightening. And his father was an attorney, and so. After the show, the father came in the green room with us and said, look, here's the deal. That obstacle wasn't very safe, and the large screen TV was obstacle number 7. So here's the deal. Give him that TV set, we're fine. Otherwise, I'm going to sue your ass.
That TV set was way less than the medical
Well,
bills.
that was it. But after that, every time we'd go through a form of the kids, if anybody's mom or dad was an attorney, we didn't let them on the show.
I have to imagine, like, that show wouldn't be able, you wouldn't be able to do Double Dare today.
Oh, sure you could.
You think so?
Oh, why not?
I don't know. I just
not?
feel like
They have better contracts now.
yeah, is that what it is?
Well, we can
better
make
releases.
Things, it would be fine. Listen, with the reality stuff I've done, you get people to sign anything. Trust me, man. Let me tell you.
The obstacle course.
Yes, sir.
Everyone had their favorites,
Yep.
and then some would come and go, and some would get more ridiculous than before.
What was your favorite?
The teeth going down the esophagus. Everybody loves the nose, which
Yep.
is featured on the floor here at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yep.
The swimming pool stuff was always interesting because I was like, I don't think I could do that in a respectable amount of time.
My favorite was we filled the tank. It started off with styrofoam, and so then we thought it'd be fun to fill it with 4,000 pounds of baked beans. Okay, so day one, it was okay, and day
Molasses,
two,
kids.
by day three, it got a little ripe in there. It smelled like a bad, high school cafeteria or something. So how do you get rid of 4,000 pounds of baked beans? So first we tried to shovel it into plastic bags. Well, the bags were breaking like crazy, and then we, those guys who clean out like septic tanks and sewers and stuff. So we called this guy over to the studio at HYY in Philly, and he comes in. He's got hip waders up to the air. So he looks at the tank and he goes, "What's that?" And we said, "Baked beans." He goes, "Beans, huh?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Want to get those beans out of there?" We said, "Yes, sir, we do." And he comes in with one of those big vacuum cleaners and sucks the beans out, man. I mean, these are things that are in this mind that I can't get
You
rid
have
of.
your own hazmat team.
That's it. I can still smell those beans today,
I'm sure there were some ideas that were kicked around and rejected, so they never came to fruition. Were you ever in any of the creative meetings or writers' meetings when they say, "Oh, this is what we're looking at," and they're like, "That's too ridiculous. That's too dangerous"?
I was in all those meetings, yes.
Okay.
And testing the physical challenges was always fun because we'd shoot 5 or 6 shows in a day, go have dinner, and then come back, and from 7 to 10, take kids who were in local schools in Philadelphia and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and we do them over and over again. Byron Taylor, who was the guy who designed most of those obstacles, was the one who came up with the ant farm and the gumball machine, and he was the creative guy behind most of that. But no, we never did like the giant esophagus or anything like that. I mean, nothing too weird.
What was your favorite that never came to fruition?
You know what? Obstacle course wise, I can't think of one. The gumball machine was my favorite thing. But when we would do physical challenges, like they test them, and there was a mailbox down there in 10 paper planes, and they'd say 20 seconds to get one airplane. And the thing, I said, well, nobody's ever going to do that. So we'd go on the air, and I said, here's a physical challenge that I don't want to do. My producers are making me do it. I don't think it's possible. And we have 10 paper planes here, and if you get one in 20 seconds, I'll give you my house. That's what I said, okay? So on your mark, get set, go. First airplane, boom. Right in the mailbox. First one, man. It was unbelievable.
That's like the half-court, $1 million challenge that they do at NBA or in hockey.
That's exactly it, So, I mean, it was so much fun. I couldn't believe they gave me a check at the end of the week for doing that stuff.
So you got to move the next week, right?
Yeah, I
'Cause you had to
moved the
give
kid
house
now.
away.
Still living in my house. He's a squatter. I can't get him out.
One of my favorite things is on YouTube, they put a montage of the physical
prizes?
challenges. Yes, but it's not. It's just Mark introducing the challenge and then showing you, and then Harvey, what will he win? And then it cuts to like the Encyclopedia Britannica,
right.
this home computer system that's way too big, and a Huffy bike,
Oh yeah, a clarinet.
And
silly
that's
things.
people are so fascinated by just the prize list.
I know. When you think about it, some of the stuff we gave away was totally ridiculous. But it wasn't about the prizes and it wasn't about the money. It was about getting messy and having fun. That's what it was all about.
It was definitely the reverse of Price is Right Showcase Showdown, because everybody wanted to see the big, you get a car, you get a washer dryer set, you're going to Mexico, and,
Right.
and see, then the second showcase has to top the first showcase. Here, you laughed at the prizes, but I want to see what the next obstacle is, and then I want to see them play the game.
You're absolutely right. You're right on the money. I mean, and I remember doing the Today Show, and Brian Gumbel, that's how long ago it was, are you teaching kids that they are being judged by what they have instead of who they are? It's like, give me a break, Brian, chill, man. It's all fine,
No, we're playing in pudding.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we're teaching the kids.
That's what we're
Household
teaching.
items can become a fun game.
And I said, Jeff Kitch, yes. I said, do they watch Double Dare? Oh, I don't allow them to watch television. Really? Come on, man.
Oh, so uptight. What were some of your favorite memories of doing this show?
Oh, every day was fun. We had just the people. It was like going to work at a college dorm every day. You know, most of the people there had never done a lot of TV, really. I was sort of the granddad at 34. My first show was Truth or Consequences with Bob Barker. I was a writer on that, and I had written many game shows, and I was the only guy who had any real experience on games. But a guy by the name of Alan Silverberg was our head writer, and he knew how to write into my sense of humor, doing stupid impressions and things such as that. I'm telling you, every day, I've always said I've never worked a day in my life. I mean, look at this. I'm dressed pretty much the same way I was 30 years ago with my feet up, talking to you guys.
It's called working in radio.
Yeah, how bad is this? You know,
purposely go into the entertainment business so you don't have to wear a suit and tie.
Right, so we can dress like this.
Doesn't matter how hard you work. It's like, I want to just wear shorts.
Yeah, and kids come into my office and audition and you know, try to get jobs with coats and ties. First thing, take off your coat, take off your tie, and just relax. You know, I said, you want to look like this when you're my age. You don't want to have to get all dressed up. I don't know. Everything was there was never a bad day on the set. That's all I can tell you.
How did you deal with the celebrity status at the height of the show, where you could walk around? Were kids mostly recognizing you? Were parents now recognizing you?
It's a combination of the two. Of course, when we went to Family Double Dare, you know, it was moms and dads and kids. It was all good.
Was it hard to go out?
Yeah, you know, going to Disneyland. I remember once we were shooting an episode of Win, Lose, or Draw, and then we were trying to take my kids who were young at the time on the rides, and, you know, I got bombarded, and I remember my son was upset, and my daughter said, when Dad gets done doing his autographs, we'll go on the rides, Matthew. You know? And, you know, I got to host Easter at the White House, and, you know, I had a really fun life. I was on Hollywood Squares and Win, Lose, or Draw and Password, and, you know, it was fun. There was no negative about anything that I did.
Do you have anything on Double Dare?
No, I just it's an honor just to talk to you. I'm a little bit
kind.
starstruck. I'm not going to lie. So,
all right. Well, then let me, if I can, tell you a quick story about how Double Dare, one of my favorite shows in my entire life, also developed a recurring nightmare as a kid. You know this story. And it involved the winning and going to the physical challenge.
Okay.
So you go through, you show all the different obstacles you're going through and the prizes, whatever. The first obstacle is just this. It's a teeter-totter with a blanket on it.
Yes.
You have to go, when they end down here, under the blanket, over the teeter-totter, down the other side, and out to get the flag.
Right.
I couldn't do this. So this dream constantly haunts me, where I'm getting caught in the blanket, I'm falling off the teeter-totter, I'm trying to do it again. Time runs out. The sports buzzer goes off at the end. Like that. People are booing. You dropped the mic and walked away in disgust. I didn't even get to the orange flag, and I'm just sitting there all upset.
Didn't even get to obstacle number 1, right?
I was there. I never passed it.
Never passed it. Wow, yeah, that's frightening.
Yes.
Can I help you out? Can I get you some help?
Could you give me the orange flag? I don't even want the prizes. If Mark just hands me the flag,
just the flag will be good?
I'll be good with the flag.
Yeah, come to the nightclub tomorrow where we're doing the show. I'll give you an orange flag. Then. Come on.
Let's talk about the show.
Yeah. Well, we're going to recreate it in a sort of reduced form. We're in a club, and they're worried about us getting the place messy, I guess. And
it's Double Dare.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I said.
Set the room up like a Dexter Kill room, and then let's have some fun.
Crazy. So we only have 4 obstacles instead of 8, but we're going to be asking questions and doing physical challenges, and the cast from all that's going to be there, so that should be kind of fun. And we're just trying to, people for whatever reason are nostalgic for this thing right now, and we're going to put it back the way it was.
Does my dream make me sound pathetic?
No, not at all. No, none at all.
He's being polite.
I'm concerned about you. You're all my kids, and I just want what's best for you. So if it's handing you an orange flag, and that'll make it all better,
that would be great.
How much money have you spent with shrinks?
None.
None.
That's why I went into radio.
Okay. Yeah,
it's free.
It is. That's not. My Sirius bill is quite high now that I think about it.
I know a guy. We can work that out. We can work that out for you. The height of Double Dare.
Yep.
You guys know that at some point there's going to be attempts to compete with you guys and knockoffs. Funhouse comes around.
Yep.
Do you guys get mad, or do you just laugh it off?
Well, I was actually, there used to be a thing called the NATPE convention, National Association of Television Program Executives.
It was always down in New Orleans, right?
Yes, and they were trying to sell Funhouse, and I heard their show looks like it was done in a basement. Ours is going to have really rich quality to it. It was a guy from Warner Brothers. And, the day they launched, I called J.D. Roth in his dressing room and wished him well. JD was a kid, and I don't know how old he is now. Maybe he's 50. Maybe I don't even think he's 50.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, but he's got a couple of kids. He lives in Manhattan Beach. We run into each other every now and then. The downfall on that show was you had to grab the tokens.
Right.
So on ours, you got the physical challenge or you didn't get it. You knew right away. How many tokens do you have? 1, 2. It's like anticlimactic.
It made it more complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm passing away and you're counting 19 tokens. So I never thought it was there were like 19 versions of Double Dare, but none of them did what we did. I mean, we kicked off the Fox Primetime Network when Fox first went to prime time. We were on at 8 o'clock on Saturday nights on Fox, for God's sakes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we did celebrity versions with Lou Ferrigno and Weird Al Yankovic, and I mean those kind of things. So we were light years ahead of whatever they did, merch-wise, TV-wise, syndication-wise.
That was the thing too, with the kids always getting the Double Dare shirts. They weren't. It's not like today where if you're a fan of anything, the merchandise gets out pretty quickly for it. You were really struggling to try to find a Double Dare shirt, and then at some points they would write, like at the end of the episode, they'd have a graphics screen up there. You would send a check and money order to whatever and get your official Double Dare shirt.
Yeah. And then we finally, got into some stores and stuff like that. But we toured it, so we did 40 personal appearances a year for 8 years, and we would sell merch then like crazy. We'd sell T-shirts and hats and pencils and shoelaces and all that jazz.
After Double Dare, you went and did UnWrapped on the Food Network. And I think you taped both seasons in a row, right? Like all the episodes were shot at the same time?
Well, we would shoot sometimes 30 or 40 episodes in 3 days. And when we were shooting it in Denver, we've shot, something like 500 episodes of UnWrapped. Longest running series on Food Network.
It's one of my favorite. I bought the first DVD set when it came
really?
out.
You're
I was
the one.
waiting for the second one and it never came out. And then all of a sudden, Carlton's hosting it now.
Yeah. That's a story someday. I'll come to the Sirius station and tell you that story.
Please do.
I was hanging out with Joey Fatone when I found out. That's a great story.
Well, at least J.D. Roth didn't take the show.
There you go.
Mark, we're out of time. Thank you so much.
You guys were great. Thanks so much.
This has been such an honor. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you.
It's Erik Nagel at San Diego Comic-Con. Erik and Matt will be right back.